I'm about to describe 5 myths around growing your own food. Some of you will disagree with the points that I'm about to make, and perhaps some of the nuances of what I'm saying will differ, depending on your geographical location or indeed your personal circumstances. But the principles within this video are universally true based on my own experience. That's the key word, experience. The soft skills of growing things have been lost by several generations now, which is why many just assume that it can't be done. But watch this video and realise that it really can. Many people say to me, you can't save money and that growing food is expensive. Here we go, straight in there with the big one. I think that people tend to overcomplicate this equation, but we're dealing with a few very complicated social issues here. There's simultaneously a lack of generational knowledge transfer. We've lost the skills of our grandparents who grew food through the Second World War. Often working class people who couldn't afford to throw money into a gardening hobby that didn't yield real world results. The soft skills of knowing when to plant seeds, when to pot them on, and more importantly, local planting out dates haven't been passed on to the younger generations for quite a while now. This is why videos like this and many of the other amazing gardening videos on social media are really, really important, that we now have the ability to pass on this knowledge again. But this video isn't a history lesson, it's about growing food now in the 21st century. And over the last few years we've seen soaring food prices. This has changed the equation enormously without us realising it. We are so used to commodities in supermarkets being cheap. We're addicted to buying buy one get one free deals and big signs that tell us we get 30% extra for free. The prices have quietly soared, and this has majorly tipped the equation when you're growing food. Let me break this down for you. If you can buy a bag of supermarket salad for £1, you can buy a pack of wild rocket seeds for about the same price, £1. If you buy a pot and some soil, this might cost another £3. If you harvest from that pot 5 times throughout the growing season, you've broken even on your initial investment and still have those amazing peppery salad leaves that you can keep on harvesting. Wild rocket is a perennial and it will keep going for years to come. And trust me, you'll be harvesting that wild rocket on a weekly basis through much of the year. I know. Don't stop watching. You're thinking, Andy, that's such a small saving. I'd rather drive to the supermarket. But just magnify those savings over the course of several years and several crops. It adds up quite quickly. And of course, this comes with all the benefits of lack of packaging, no cost of transport, and the quality of the food. But maybe you're thinking you don't know where to start and you don't have green fingers. Are you somebody that says plants always die for you? Well, this is the second myth about growing food, that you need a lot of knowledge and skills to get started. This one is huge, and again, there's a lot of issues behind this. We have been trained to think that we have to have a qualification to be able to do something. We can't fix a car unless we've got an NVQ in car mechanics. Of course, some background knowledge is important, and we never stop learning. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. Some plants are harder to grow than others. It's a really good idea to keep things as basic as possible, even if you're an experienced gardener. Someone once said to me that growing things is complicated, so remove as many of the variables as you can. So for example, focus on crops that are quick turnaround and easy to grow. Lettuce is a fantastic crop to start with, and so many salad herbs are easy to grow too. Why not start with established plants? This will provide you with a huge head start, quicker results, and potentially the most cost savings down the line. Don't hide behind perfection procrastination, constantly researching and learning and planning, but never actually getting your hands in the soil. You can learn a lot from watching videos like this on social media or from a community growing site where help will be offered in abundance, trust me. But you can make a start on this right now, today. Seriously, just do it. Order some wild rocket seeds or lettuce seeds after you finish watching this video. In about 4 weeks, you will look back on this moment and you'll be so glad that you did so. What you learn from watching these videos will be nothing to what you learn from the moment that you put your hands into the soil. Trust me. The next one is a myth that I see very, very often, that you need a large garden to grow food. Seriously, look at my front garden. The vast majority of gardening advice advises or implies that you need a large allotment, garden, or indeed a field in order to grow food, which is at odds with most people's lived experience. Most people, especially those in big cities, simply don't have large gardens, and even if they did, most people wouldn't have the time to work a field. Although well-meaning, most of the advice out there is advising about a fantasy that can only be explored by very few people. I'm so passionate about correcting this and showing you that small gardens can be highly productive spaces. You just need to follow 2 magic formulas. Number 1, grow expensive ingredients in small quantities. And number 2, grow quick turnaround crops that amplify your harvests. Following these 2 tips, it's possible to get incredible, but most importantly, regular yields that match with your lifestyle and your eating habits by just growing in pots on a balcony or through use of raised beds with a few extra seasonal pots. The 4th myth is one that I see a lot, and this is when people say that growing food is very labour intensive and takes a major time commitment. It sure can be, but it doesn't have to be. I turned my front garden into a food growing space using 16 years of industry experience, after seeing so many community projects and market gardens and borrowing the best practices that I'd seen during that time. We're always learning, and I'll always continue to improve that space. But I have to be honest, I work 90 hours a week during my busy season. I don't have enough time to lend to my own very high maintenance garden. So I set this space up specifically for somebody like me that works a lot of hours. I literally had to have it low maintenance. What does that mean? What does low maintenance mean? Well, I set this space up with raised beds to minimise my bending, but also my workload weeding the area. I actually didn't have any choice, as there was a lot of rubble buried under the surface of the garden, and digging this out would definitely not have been low maintenance. This low maintenance philosophy also extends to the choice of plants within the garden. I deliberately chose to plant varieties that I knew from experience would give me a lot and not ask for much in return. Varieties like salad burnet, lovage, wild rocket or lettuce. The final myth about growing food is a huge one. And this is the idea that the growing season is too short, that it starts in April and ends in July. I think I left the most important myth until the end of this video. So many people see the season as being a linear line beginning in April and ending in July. When we get back from our summer holidays and we're off to buy school uniform, the gardening season is over, we just forget about it. This just isn't true. The growing season is a cycle that never ends. The material that you put into your compost bin in October is the fuel for your garden next year. You can of course choose to buy in fresh compost, but you don't need to. In my front garden food growing experiment, I measured how much food I could harvest and compared this against supermarket prices. I didn't actually make a profit until July, and in fact September and October were 2 of my most productive months. Some of you will disagree with the myths that I've challenged here, and I totally agree that there are nuances within this. We live in a society which is plagued by the phrase, "but what about?" And I made this video to challenge the idea of whataboutism. I grew food in my front garden. That's my experience. It's changed the way that I interact with my local area. It's changed my view of growing, and it's changed what I eat. Wherever you are right now, can you do me a favour? Grow some food. Trust me, it might just be amazing.